Let me destroy the biggest lie they've been feeding you about attraction. The idea that showing more interest creates more desire. The belief that being more available makes you more valuable. The fantasy that chasing harder will make them chase back. It's backwards, it's toxic, and it's keeping you trapped in a cycle of emotional poverty. Here's what actually happens when you walk away from someone who's been taking you for granted. Something clicks in their brain, something primal, something they can't control or rationalize away. Because walking away isn't just an action, it's a declaration. You're telling the universe that your energy has limits, your attention has boundaries, your presence is a privilege, not a right. But most people don't understand the psychology behind this. They think walking away is giving up. They see it as defeat. They believe it means you don't care enough to fight. Wrong. Walking away is the ultimate fight. It's fighting for your own worth when no one else will. It's choosing your peace over their chaos. It's saying, I'd rather be alone than tolerated. And that energy shift creates something magnetic, something they can't ignore. Because suddenly, you're not the person they can predict. You're not the safe option they can come back to whenever convenient. You've become dangerous, unpredictable, valuable, and value always creates desire. Think about it this way. What do you want more? The thing that's always available or the thing that's just out of reach? The restaurant that's always empty or the one with a waiting list? The person who's always free or the one who's selective with their time? Scarcity creates demand, distance creates longing, and walking away creates both. When you walk away from someone who's been treating you like an option, you force them to confront a reality they've been avoiding, that you have other choices, that your world doesn't revolve around them, that maybe, just maybe, they're not as irreplaceable as they thought. And that realization hits different. It hits hard, because now they're not just losing your attention, they're losing their power over you. Here's where it gets psychological. Human beings are wired to want what they can't have. It's called reactance theory. When something becomes unavailable, our brain immediately assigns it higher value. When you were always there, always responding, always available, your brain told them you were low value, common, replaceable. But the moment you withdraw, that same brain starts screaming that you're rare, valuable, worth pursuing. The person who ignores you when you're present suddenly can't stop thinking about you when you're absent. The one who took your texts for granted starts analyzing why you stopped sending them. The individual who treated your attention as unlimited suddenly realizes it was finite, and finite resources are always more precious than abundant ones. But here's what separates the boys from the men, the girls from the women. You don't walk away as a strategy. You don't withdraw as a manipulation tactic. You don't create distance to get a reaction. You walk away because you genuinely value yourself too much to accept less than you deserve. You withdraw because your peace is more important than their presence. You create distance because closeness without respect is just proximity without purpose. When your walking away comes from genuine self-respect rather than manipulation, it carries a different energy. People can sense the difference. They can feel when someone is playing games versus when someone has genuinely moved on. And that authentic energy of self-worth, that's what creates real attraction. Not the desperate kind that comes from fear of loss, but the magnetic kind that comes from recognizing genuine value. The moment you stop chasing someone who doesn't appreciate you, you start attracting people who do. It's not magic, it's mathematics. When you stop pouring your energy into a black hole, you have more energy to invest in yourself. When you stop orbiting someone else's world, you start building your own. And people are naturally drawn to individuals who are building something, creating something, becoming something. Your absence does something their presence never could. It creates space for them to miss you. And you can't miss what's always there. You can't long for what's constantly available. You can't desire what you already control. But when you remove yourself from the equation, when you stop being predictable, when you become unreachable, suddenly they have to fill that void with their imagination. And imagination always paints a better picture than reality. They start remembering the good times more vividly. They start forgetting why they were taking you for granted. They begin romanticizing your connection, idealizing your potential, fantasizing about what could have been. And all of this happens because you're no longer there to contradict their fantasy with your reality. Your absence allows them to fall in love with the idealized version of you they've created in their mind. But here's the trap most people fall into. They walk away expecting the other person to come running back immediately. They create distance hoping for a quick response. They withdraw their attention and then obsessively monitor for signs that it's working. This defeats the entire purpose, because now you're still emotionally invested in their reaction. You're still giving them power over your peace. you're still making their response the measure of your worth. Real walking away means walking towards something else. It means redirecting that energy you were wasting on someone who didn't value it into projects, people, and purposes that do. It means becoming so focused on your own growth that their absence becomes irrelevant. It means building a life so fulfilling that their presence would be a bonus, not a necessity. When you reach that level of genuine detachment, when you've truly moved on, that's when the real magic happens. Because now you're not walking away from them, you're walking toward yourself. You're not running from their disrespect, you're running toward your destiny. And that energy of forward momentum, of purpose, of self-direction, that's irresistibly attractive. They can sense when someone has genuinely moved on versus when someone is just playing hard to get. And the person who has genuinely moved on becomes infinitely more attractive because they're no longer available for the same old patterns. They've evolved, they've upgraded, they've become someone new. And this new version of you, they never got the chance to take that person for granted. The beautiful irony of walking away is that it often brings back the very thing you walked away from. But by the time they return, you're no longer the same person who left. You've grown, you've healed, you've discovered your worth. And now they're not just competing with who you were, they're competing with who you've become. And who you've become might be completely uninterested in going backwards. This is why walking away triggers instant attraction. It's not about the distance itself, it's about what the distance represents: standards, self-respect, options, growth, independence. All the qualities that make someone genuinely attractive. All the things that were always there but got buried under the weight of trying too hard to please someone who wasn't trying at all to keep you. Your walking away forces them to compete for something they thought they already owned. Your presence, your attention, your energy, your future. And competition always increases perceived value. When they had you without effort, you were taken for granted. But when they have to work to get you back, suddenly you become precious. Suddenly you become priority. Suddenly you become everything they should have recognized you were from the beginning. But remember this, the goal isn't to get them back. The goal is to get yourself back, to reclaim the energy you were bleeding, to recover the power you were giving away, to rebuild the confidence that was being slowly eroded by accepting less than you deserved. Walking away isn't about them. It's about you. It's about choosing yourself when no one else will. It's about betting on your own worth when the world is telling you to settle. And when you walk away from that energy, from that mindset, from that person who couldn't see your value, you don't just trigger their attraction. You trigger your own transformation. You become magnetic, not because you're playing games, but because you're playing for keeps. Your own keeps, your own peace, your own future, your own happiness. That's why walking away works. Not because it's a strategy, but because it's a statement. A statement that says you know your worth, you honor your boundaries, and you refuse to accept anything less than the respect you deserve. And that statement, that's the most attractive thing you can be. Walk away not to get their attention, but to get your life back. Walk away not to teach them a lesson, but to learn your own. The lesson that you are valuable, worthy, and deserving of someone who recognizes that without you having to prove it. That's when walking away stops being about them and starts being about you. And that's when everything changes.